When Barron Trump stepped into a high-end restaurant, he had no idea that his MAGA cap would turn the entire atmosphere upside down. In just a moment, silence turned into chaos. The lady manager was left stunned, and the entire city couldn't stop talking about what happened next. The sun was blazing hot. The heat was intense. The streets were busy. People were walking, some in a hurry, some at a slow pace. Cars were honking, and voices filled the air. Barron Trump was busy with his election campaign. Everywhere, rallies were happening. People were shouting slogans. Posters were waving in the air. Supporters were excited. Barron was meeting everyone, shaking hands, listening to their problems, and understanding their struggles. But it wasn't easy. The campaign had been running since morning. Barron was exhausted. His body was aching. He was starving. He looked around. Nearby, there was a famous restaurant, Berkeley. It was the best in town. Rich and famous people often visited it. Barron thought, why not eat here? He walked inside quickly. The restaurant's atmosphere was elegant. Dim lights, soft music, and a lovely fragrance filled the air. Well-dressed, classy people were sitting everywhere. He found a table and sat down. His election campaign cap was still on his head. A waiter came immediately. Barron smiled and placed his order. Then he relaxed and looked around. The restaurant was packed. Some people were sipping coffee. Some were finishing their meals. Some were busy in meetings, while others were taking selfies. Suddenly, a woman walked toward him with fast steps. Her face was serious. Her eyes were sharp. Her body language showed anger. She was the restaurant manager. She looked straight at Barron and, in a harsh tone, said, "Look, mister, you can't do this here. This is against our restaurant policy. Please leave immediately." The whole restaurant fell silent. People started looking around. Many eyes turned toward Barron. Barron listened carefully. He didn't react. Calmly, he said, "Okay, no problem." But as soon as he relaxed, the manager got angrier. Her voice became louder. "Did you not hear me? I said, leave now." Barron stayed calm and replied, "You could have spoken to me politely. This is not a professional way to talk. If we all treat each other with respect, society will improve." The manager's face turned red. It seemed like she was taking revenge for something personal. But Barron didn't argue. He quietly stood up. Without saying another word, he walked out of the restaurant. Barron Trump stepped out of the restaurant. The sun was still burning hot. The streets were crowded. People were moving in different directions. Cars were honking. The city was alive, but inside, Barron felt a little disturbed. He had not expected such behavior. The manager's words still echoed in his mind. "You can't do this here. Leave immediately." He had done nothing wrong, yet he was asked to leave. He took a deep breath and reminded himself to stay calm. No need to react emotionally. Keep your composure. He was still hungry. His stomach growled, reminding him he needed food. He looked around. A few blocks away, he spotted another restaurant. It wasn't as fancy as the previous one, but it looked decent. The name wasn't familiar, but that didn't matter. Food is food, he thought as he walked toward the entrance. The door chimed as he stepped inside. The air was cool. The smell of fresh bread and grilled meat filled the room. The restaurant was not too crowded. A few people sat at their tables, chatting and enjoying their meals. The atmosphere felt warm and welcoming. A waiter greeted him with a smile. "Welcome, sir. Would you like a table?" Barron nodded. The waiter led him to a cozy corner. The wooden furniture, the soft lighting, and the light music in the background made the place feel comfortable. He could finally relax. He picked up the menu. The options were simple but appealing. He decided on a burger and a cold drink. The waiter took his order politely and left. As Barron waited, he noticed the people around him. A family sat at a table nearby, laughing together. At another table, an elderly man was reading a newspaper while sipping his coffee. Everything seemed peaceful. There was no tension, no unnecessary rules, no rude behavior. Just then, a man sitting a few tables away looked at Barron. He seemed to recognize him. He stood up and walked over. "Excuse me, but are you the guy from the Berkeley restaurant incident?" he asked. Barron looked up, surprised. "Yes, I suppose I am." The man smiled. "I saw the video. You handled the situation very well. Most people would have argued or reacted badly, but you remained calm. That was impressive." Barron nodded. "Thank you. I believe reacting aggressively doesn't solve anything." The man sat down for a moment. "You know, when I first saw the video, I thought, this guy must have done something wrong. But after watching the whole thing, I realized you were treated unfairly. It's sad how some people use their authority in the wrong way." Barron sighed. "Yes, but I don't hold any grudges. Everyone makes mistakes. I just hope the manager learns something from this." The man smiled again. "Not many people think like that. Most would have fought back or made a scene. But your patience showed true strength." Just then, Barron's food arrived. The waiter placed the burger and drink in front of him. "Enjoy your meal, sir," he said cheerfully. Barron took a bite. The food was delicious. The environment was pleasant. He felt at ease. At that moment, his phone rang. It was his friend. "Barron, have you seen the internet? Your video from Berkeley restaurant is everywhere. People are supporting you." Barron raised an eyebrow. "Really? I didn't expect that." His friend laughed. "You should check the comments. People are praising your patience and behavior. The restaurant, on the other hand, is getting a lot of criticism." Barron wasn't sure how to feel about it. He didn't want anyone to suffer, but at the same time, he knew this could be a learning experience for the manager. He put his phone away and took another bite of his burger. The evening felt better now. A new restaurant, a fresh atmosphere, and a reminder that patience and kindness always win. 2 days had passed since the incident at Berkeley restaurant. Barron Trump had moved on. He had no grudge against the manager. For him, it was just another day, another experience. But for the internet, it was something much bigger. His phone kept buzzing with notifications. Messages, calls, and social media tags poured in. His video had gone viral. People were talking about how he handled the situation with patience. Many praised his calm behavior. Some compared his attitude to how leaders should act. Others criticized the restaurant, calling it unprofessional. At first, Barron ignored it. He wasn't looking for attention. But soon, the impact of the video became too big to ignore. Berkeley restaurant was facing backlash. Their social media pages were flooded with negative comments. People were canceling their reservations. Online reviews turned into complaints. Customers started sharing their own bad experiences. One tweet read, "If they can treat someone famous like this, imagine how they treat regular people." Another comment said, "I used to love this place, but after seeing that video, I'll never go there again." The manager, who had been so confident and rude, was now facing the consequences of her actions. Sales had dropped. Regular customers had stopped coming. The once busy restaurant now had empty tables. The restaurant owner was furious. He called a staff meeting. The employees sat quietly as he spoke. "What is going on? We've lost more than half of our customers in just 2 days." The manager, who had caused the trouble, looked nervous. She had never expected this. She thought the issue would fade away, but instead, it had grown bigger. She tried to defend herself. "Sir, I didn't know this would happen. I was just enforcing the policy." The owner shook his head. "There's a way to handle things. You don't treat customers like that, especially when they're not causing any trouble." The staff exchanged glances. Some agreed. Others stayed silent. Meanwhile, Barron received a call. It was from an unknown number. He hesitated but answered. A nervous voice spoke. "Hello, Mr. Trump. This is the manager from Berkeley restaurant. I need to talk to you." Barron remained quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Go ahead." The manager took a deep breath. I want to apologize. I was wrong. I should not have treated you that way. I didn't realize how unprofessional I sounded. Barron listened patiently. He had already forgiven her, but he wanted to hear what she had to say. She continued, "Our restaurant is in trouble. People are boycotting us. We've lost business. Many of our employees are at risk of losing their jobs. I know I made a mistake, but this is affecting everyone. Please, can you help us?" Barron thought for a moment. He could have refused. He could have ignored her plea. After all, she had been rude to him, but he wasn't that kind of person. He finally said, "I'll come to the restaurant. Let's talk." That evening, he arrived at Berkeley. The place looked different, almost empty. The staff watched as he walked in. The manager stood at the entrance, looking embarrassed. She led him to a table. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. Barron nodded. "I didn't come to take revenge. I came to make things right." The manager sighed. "I should have done the same that day. I should have treated you with respect." Barron smiled slightly. "Respect is a two-way street. I hope this experience helps you see that." As they spoke, someone recorded their conversation. Another video was uploaded online, but this time it wasn't about conflict. It was about resolution. People saw Barron's gesture of kindness,